Hi, Miranda. Connecting to audio. Yep. Can you hear me, Miranda? Okay, you are muted, which is the #1 phrase stated on Zoom. How you doing? Good.
Good, thank you.
All right. Good to meet you. Okay. Not hearing you yet, but let's see. I heard you once. Is your internet a little spotty? Let's see where if I can. Whoop, there's a dog here. I got a dog right here. Okay, can you hear me? Maybe thumbs up or nod your head or. Okay, your internet is really spotty and your.
How about now?
No, that sounds like. That's what it sounded like. Where are you?
It is, I'm out of town right now.
Okay.
I could try to.
Let's see. We got some more people coming. Let's see. We got Randy. Okay, so your audio is coming through really stretched out, and I can't make out the words. But we've got Zuriel and Randy joining us. Can you hear me, Zuriel and Randy?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You thinking about maybe turning on your
Yeah,
video?
sorry.
And there you go. Cool. And Zuriel, how about, can you hit the video moment there? And just because it's a meet and greet, we're already kind of limited in how much contact we have. There you go. Okay. Okay, we got an Angela coming in. So we're just kind of waiting as people join us. Let's see. Zuriel's joining again. There he goes. Is that you, Zuriel?
This meeting is.
Okay. Zuriel, I have you on 2 screens now.
Yeah, the other one, the microphone wasn't off. The microphone was off.
Okay, cool. That works. So we have, and let's see, Angela, you're gonna hit that video and join us. I'm kind of seeing how much we can actually see one another since we're distance learning. It'd be nice to at least get a view of us all, which is very cool. Welcome everybody. We'll give it a few more minutes to have a chance to let everybody who's coming get here. My name is Mark, professor for the semester. I'm really excited to be doing this with you, and we're going to have a great time at it. Let's see, I'm looking, who among you has made it to the pickup yesterday? Who picked up their loaner tools yesterday? I'm looking. Did I have Angela? Angela, did you have someone pick up your tools for you yesterday?
Yeah, I actually went.
Oh, you went. Okay, so I met you there. Okay, great. And I don't know, Miranda, did you get your tools yesterday? Well, Miranda's having some internet technicalities there, so we'll see. But just to let you know, there she is. Oh, she was there, and yep. Just to let you know, the tools, the loaner tools are available. Today is the last day. I'll be there from 4:30 to 7 p.m. for anybody who needs to borrow tools. Some of you may already have tools or be making your own. All of those things are possible. So, but I'll be available at the college from 4:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. I chose those times because I figured if you're working, that would give you some way to get there. If you can't get there and you want to borrow the tools, you can send a family member or a friend to come pick them up. So that's happening. Let me, I guess we'll give it just a couple more minutes and I'll just show you a few things and get to know you a little bit, get to hear about you. Let's see. It looks like Miranda may try to join us again because her internet was working so poorly. We'll see. Let's see, let's go full screen here. There we are. Okay, just doing some things. So again, I said my name is Mark. I was wondering if, as long as we're kind of getting warmed up here, if I could hear a little bit from each of you, just, we can see your name, actually. It's kind of convenient. It's printed right by on your screen there. So maybe just introduce yourself, mention any experience you might have in art, and maybe mention anything particular about your experience of the last 18 months kind of hiding out from the world. Anything that you want to mention. So those are kind of things. So your experience in art, maybe anything that you've done in ceramics would be of interest, and then your just talking about the last 18 months under a COVID world. Anything that you have experienced on the upside or the downside. So that's what we'll do, just to kind of get a chance to hear each other's voices. And so Randy, why don't you kick off? I'm going to choose you in the order you show up on my screen. It's a Zoom order.
Okay, so hi, my name is Randy, and art-wise, the only art experience I've had is in, if you want to count, photography.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also drawn on my free time.
All right. Okay. Any experiences from COVID you can mention?
Not really. It's just been weird. It's been kind of hard going from in person to online.
Yeah, I think we all share that. Yeah, I think we do share that. By the way, a photo does count as art, and drawing counts, especially since you do it on your own. That you don't need anybody telling you or giving you an assignment. You do it. That really counts. So good on all of that. And I think that's a really nice description of the last 18 months. It's been weird, super strange. I really hope it remains that way and doesn't become a feeling of norm. So yeah, all right. So next on my screen is Zuriel.
Hi. So I took art history my first semester in college.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been like a year and a half, so I probably need just to refresh on that.
Right. Did you take it from Ferdinand de Florence or Teresa?
Yeah.
Ferdinand de Florence. Yeah, she's amazing. So, and have you done any college since then?
Well, since COVID, I started working full time.
Mm.
So it's kind of like, it's pretty weird to be back in school after working full time for a little more than a year.
Yeah. Well, this class is really designed for your situation then, because you can follow this class at your, you have to keep up with it every week, but you can do it anytime, day or night that you want to do it. So that's very helpful. The other thing you'll learn is that when you're in a ceramics project, it has its own timing. So you have to kind of keep up with the clay. If you got to keep the clay wet if you're still building it and that sort of thing. So you'll learn all about that. So that's great. Okay. And last, we got a little bit about, you got a little heard about your COVID. So you started a full-time job.
Yeah, I'm working construction right now. I was doing construction since 16, but I picked it up full time since COVID.
Yeah, construction has gotten enormous.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's hard to find contractors and such.
yeah.
All right. So, and strangest or best thing that's happened to you since COVID hit?
Well, I guess I think school was a lot harder for me, so that's why I kind of took a break.
Yeah. So let me just say that if you find anything difficult in this class, you just have to send me an email and let me know what's going on, and I'll be there to help you. So I am very present through the email for the most part. And you know, we could do a one-on-one Zoom or whatever we need to do. So just keep it in mind. Okay. Okay, Angela.
My name is Angela, and for art, I took my senior year. I took a video production class. I don't know if that counts, but it was kind of difficult because we had to film on our phones most of the time since we weren't in person. So I found that very difficult.
You were not in person, or you were in person?
We weren't.
Okay. Well, first of all, yeah, video counts, and there are actually major motion pictures that have been released in the theaters, all filmed on iPhones. So there's a world out there for it. I mean, it's all of that kind of media has become much more democratic. Everybody can do it now, so that's very cool. Excuse me. So, all right, anything strange or wonderful that has happened to you during COVID?
Something good was that I started going to the gym a lot more.
During
that's
COVID?
good. Yeah, like I started working out more.
Okay, that's great. That's great. All right. So Miranda.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So for art, I mostly have just done art on my own, besides like high school classes. But I am a hairstylist, so I would consider that a type of art, doing color and haircuts on people. But I draw a little bit, sketch things, try to do a lot of lifelike pictures of animals, and I try to do watercolors, but I'm way too critical of myself with that.
Yeah, well, that's great. And you know, the critical thing is important, but it has to be, there's two kinds of critical. One is self-destructive, and one is very positive. So the critical that makes you do a better drawing next time, that sees what could improve, that's helpful. The critical that thinks you're not very good at this, that first of all, it's a lie, but also it can be really destructive. You don't want to do that. So that's interesting. So yeah, hair is definitely 3D. Right? It's three-dimensional. And what's cool about being a hairstylist is you're an artist who has to work with others. You're very much like an architect. I've taught architects, and with architects, they're super open to what people have to say about what they're doing because they have to please a client. And so you're doing your three-dimensional work on their head, but they have to like what you're doing. So you have to collaborate all the time, which is a really important skill. All artists should have it, but a lot of fine artists don't have that at all. They're just, I'm doing my art and yeah, forget about you.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
right. So
Yeah, it's difficult to please people all the time.
Yeah, and there's a thing, I do a lot of this kind of clay thing called wood-fired ceramics. And we fire these kilns with like a 1,200-year-old technique. In fact, all these bowls behind me are fired that way. And what's interesting is you put all this stuff in a specially designed old brick kiln, and you fire around the clock, putting wood in a kiln every 2 minutes for like 3, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days. We'll be doing some of those you can visit during the semester. But what's interesting is, almost without exception, when it's over, it's just like hair cutting, because when you open the kiln, everybody's disappointed. Because it doesn't look like they expected, because they can't imagine the look. They can't see it in their head until they see it in the mirror. And so their initial reaction is, what is that? And then they get to like it. But you may not be around by the time they get to like it. So that's tough, isn't it?
It is. And that's something that I tell people a lot too. When they're in my chair, I'm like, oh, it's fine. If I don't like it, we can always shave it off. But I don't want to do that to you. I want you to like it when you leave.
Right. They just have to stay in the chair a little longer, have a conversation until they kind of get used to it. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. That's great. Great to know that. And I may have somebody to go. Do you do guys and men? And
I
women?
do. And actually, I've had to start cutting hair at my house because of COVID.
Right. Okay, guys, make notes. You need a haircut.
Yeah.
Miranda, where are you located? What town?
I'm in Vacaville.
In Vacaville. Okay.
Mm.
We'll
So
talk.
that's one of the good things about COVID, and the bad things is that because I have to do haircuts at home, I don't have to put my kid in daycare. He just sits and watches TV, and I get to spend a ton of time with him. He's only 3.
Uh-huh.
So
Right. Yeah. No, that sounds really cool. So now, and any special things or good or bad about COVID?
that would be the good, is just that I get to spend so much time with my 3-year-old.
Yeah, that is such a great time. They're absorbing everything so fast at 3. My daughter is now 14, and she's pretty much every day she finds a new reason to think I'm really dumb. So yeah, yeah, that's a good thing too. It's a different voyage, but it's a good one. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about the class. Oh wait, hang on a second. I've been talking to you guys, and 3 people are waiting to get in. I think there's another Angela, and Akira, and Ruth. Okay, here we go. All right, hi everybody.
Hi.
Let's see, we got Ruth, we got Angela. It's a good class that has 2 Angelas. And Kira. Kira, can you hit your video just for the, this time, because it's a meet and greet, and
He wants me to turn my camera on.
I do if you're willing. It's up to you. There you go. Cool, thanks. Because it's our meet and greet. It's our first day, and we're already distanced enough, I think. So it's very good to see you all. And personally, I need it. This isolation stuff is not my nature. So I'm fairly gregarious. So it's nice to see you all. So what we've been doing while I've been ignoring you in the waiting room, my apologies, is we've been introducing ourselves, just saying any background we might have in ceramics or art in general. And we've been saying one thing about COVID, whether it's kind of good or bad, that's happened for us in the last 18 months, something you want to say about that. We're just kind of getting used to everybody's voice and meeting each other. So, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about the class. So go right ahead. And Ruth, why don't you kick off, because I'm going in the order that you show up on my screen. So.
Okay. Hello. So my name's Ruth, and my history with ceramics is, I don't know, I've always gravitated towards wanting to do clay ever since I was a little kid. And I don't know how to throw on the wheel or anything, but I do like to make little sculptures, and I have a lot of fun with that, and it's really relaxing for me. Let's see, the best thing that happened during COVID was that we got a dog, and I'm in love with my dog. I spend a lot of time with him. His name is Marvin, and So I've been working from home, and I really like being. I've enjoyed being with my family, which kind of surprised me, but so that's been the best thing. Obviously, there's a lot of hard things and sad
Yes.
things. But yeah, I guess that's me. Did I get everything, or was there anything else?
I think you did. The only thing I was
Okay.
wondering, is there one of your little figures within reach you can hold up to the camera?
Sure. Oops.
I worked with Ruth last semester, so she's what I call a repeat offender.
So I have a little kiln, and I like making little
Oh, I
things,
love
kind
that
of like
guy.
this.
Yeah.
So that sort of hangs on the wall. So yeah, it's fun.
Yes, it is. All right. So that's Ruth, and Angela, why don't you go next? So it's any experience you have in art, including clay, and something about COVID. You're muted, which is my favorite, that we always say that, right? You're muted, and you have to unmute yourself. The number one thing said in Zoom is you're muted. Okay. Angela, can you unmute yourself? Do you know how? There's a little microphone on the far left. Click that, and it should go off. I wonder if I can unmute you. Well, I could ask you to unmute. Is it not working? Okay, as you move your cursor around the screen, there's a bunch of buttons that show up on the bottom of your screen, and on your far left, there's a little, I guess they consider that a microphone, and you click on that, and if you just tap it, it will unmute you. Not the same for you, it looks like. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do, Angela. You're gonna wave and say hi. There we go. Good, and we'll get you next time. Actually, there is a place, one of the first activities you do is you introduce yourself online. There's a discussion where you put in some basic information about yourself, favorite quote, favorite artist, that kind of thing. So we'll all be able to go through that and meet each other. So Kira, let's see if you have access to your mute button there, and we'll meet you. She's first making sure that people are quiet in the background. Yes. That used to concern me so much when I first started teaching. If I were teaching and the dog barked, or if I was making a video and my daughter asked me a question, I got really, oh, that's not professional. And then I realized, no, that's what this is. Everybody's invited into my home. They're going to get the full Monty. They're going to get the full, well, not the full Monty, but they're going to get the full experience of what it is to live in my house. So, okay.
We're good now.
Yeah.
My dog was being really loud. I had to just make sure he was being quiet first.
Okay, good.
Mhm.
So background in art, and then any COVID experience you want to talk about.
I've been doing art for like as long as I can remember. Ever since I was like super small, I've always just been so interested in art, and I thought this class would be something cool for me to try because I'd never done this before. So I thought it would be like something cool to add to look like all the art things that I've been doing throughout my life.
Great.
And COVID, I guess the number one thing that happened to me during COVID was I graduated high school. And I went through 2 jobs during COVID. It's just been a weird experience, the masks and everything, but it's been good. Everything's been going great. So
And you graduated high school during COVID?
yeah, I just
Yeah.
graduated in June.
Right. So the prom, the graduation ceremony, all very different, right?
Yeah, prom it wasn't really that weird because not really everyone was wearing a mask, but graduation was really weird. Like everyone was like all super spaced out, and we all had to wear our masks like when we walked across the stage. And there was like not like the normal like you shake like
you don't shake their hand, you just like you grab it off a table and then you lift it up. So that was it was different than what you would expect, but it was still nice to have an actual graduation instead of like having the drive-by that kids previous had.
Right. Right. And the thing that impressed me in these, while we're all trying to compensate for all these ceremonies that get altered, is like my whole neighborhood went crazy for the 3 graduates that were on our neighborhood, and there were parades and there were, you know, gifts dropped off and parties from a distance. And I guess what it showed me is that people really care about what you're doing. They really care that you graduated, and they had to show it more than they usually do when you're going through a typical ceremony. So that was kind of exciting. Okay, so a little bit about me. My name is Mark. I have been doing ceramics and art in general for a really long time. I would say 50 plus years. So, you know, I started very, very young, and I'm not so young anymore. So I keep doing art. It is really one of the cores, along with my family and friends. It's probably the most important thing in my life. And I go all around the world. I've been invited to China, Denmark, Germany, Japan, England. I mean, I can go on. I've been invited to all these places, France, I think recently, and I'm going to Portugal soon. And all of that because I got involved with a very special kind of firing that we do at the school called wood firing. And I wrote a book that described it in a way no one had heard before in the English language. So it's not like, you know, I didn't write a book that is like, you know, the Shakespeare of ceramics or anything. I wrote a book that had information people needed. So it went everywhere. And I've met people, like I met this guy from a very remote region in Africa, and he knew who I was. And I was just, oh my God, you know, how is that possible? But the book has traveled quite a bit. So that's a little bit about me. I love ceramics. I love what we're doing. I think each one of these assignments, you have 4 total assignments in this class. Each one of them is something you could do for the rest of your life. I mean, literally, I love every one of these kinds of things. And currently, probably 2 out of 4 I do a lot of all the time. Let me show you a little bit about them. The first one you're going to do. Oh, this is an African spherical pot. And that's the first one you can do. And this is about as big as you might get. You might get a little smaller. That's great. That's okay. You want to start with a round piece of wood. And I'll describe that to you briefly here. And there's all kinds of different ways to texture it. And in your Canvas class, I have all kinds of videos demonstrating texture. And I'm going to use, this is not the right size. This is a coaster, but you know, you'll be working with a round piece of wood about 10 to 12 inches around. And what you do to start with is you take a very thin piece of clay. All of this is on the videos in Canvas. And you'll take a flat piece of clay, and you're going to coil build, which is working with little ropes. And the easiest way to coil build, the strongest way, is to build inward. So you're going to build a dome, just a half of sphere here, a dome right here. And of course, it's going to be bigger. It's going to be like that. And then you build that dome, and then you put a little foot on it. You can see that in this pot here. Let me move that again. See, so I'm talking about, you start, I can even show you what it would look like. You start like this, and you build the dome, and you put a little ring on top. And then when the clay starts to dry, you're keeping an edge. So the edge that's on the flat part of the wood, you keep that edge wet by having a damp piece of a towel and a little plastic around it. All of this, again, is explained in your video. And it's really important to keep that part wet. And then you let this dry, and it gets stiffer and stiffer. And when it gets strong enough, then you flip it over. And once again, you're building a dome. You build this dome shape on top of the edge that's here, right along here. You build that, and then you build some kind of top on it. And let me just go get one more thing, because I love this. Hang on a second. I'll be right back. Talk among yourselves.
I love that everybody's like just dead silent. He said to talk.
Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Okay, I'm going to show you another one. This is another one, but instead of making just a vase, I made a drum. So this is a style of drum from Africa. Anyway, I'm not very rhythmic, but and there's this texture allows you to make sounds as well. So if you decided this is what you want, then you wouldn't make a ring. When you did the bottom dome, you wouldn't make a ring on it. You would just keep it round, then flip it over and work. And then you need a hole right about there and one here. And the thing about these holes, maybe I should make a video of making one of these, but the thing about these holes is that you want them slightly rounded so your hand fits really comfortably on them. Polka dots optional. Okay, so that's the African pot. And while for each of these projects, you're reading about them. I'm showing you videos about the culture and about the potters and how they're made. Or in some cases, like Mimbres, all the potters have been gone since 1100. So you're learning about them through comments from archaeologists and anthropologists. So you learn about all these cultures. So we start out in Africa, and Africa is amazing. They have a pottery tradition everywhere. And it's impossible to know everything because you could pick a country like, you could pick Kenya. Well, Kenya has countless different tribal cultures. So even though somebody drew these boundaries, it's much more involved than that. And so all these different cultures have different pottery traditions, but almost everywhere in Africa, you'll see these big round pots. So that's the first one. The second one is the Mimbres. And they make these open bowls. They're very open, kind of like a dish or a bowl. And if you want, you can put, see, I put a ledge in there so I can hang a wire so I can hang it up on the wall because I like these. They're kind of good looking. And I've made this kind of contemporary, like this is a woman who shops at Target, I guess. But what you can see is the Mimbres always have an ornate rim. They have a little design all the way around the rim. And then they have some kind of geometric drawing in here. And in this case, I'm doing kind of a contemporary thing, but you could also, there's lots and lots of examples on your canvas shell, on your class that show you different kinds of Membres pottery. And you can emulate a traditional form, or you can make something personal to you. I guess I like Target. I didn't know that, but you can do whatever it is that you're involved with or you're interested in. So what happens is I show you how to either hand build or throw on a wheel. I don't know if I show you these on the wheel or not, but if you know how to throw on the wheel, it's not something you can just pick up, but then you could do these on the wheel. But I don't think any of you have mentioned that, so I don't think that's going to happen. So you'll hand build an open bowl like this, and I show you how to do that. And then you paint the surface white, and you'll need white slip. I'm giving away, I have a little bit of white slip and black slip that I can give to the first 7 people that show up for their kits. And I think I've given away 3 of them already. But here, so you start with that, you paint the whole thing white, and then you just have a little tiny paintbrush and black slip, and you just paint it. And in your class, it shows you where to buy the black slip if you're not one of the first 7 that pick something up. But so these are really fun, and you learn about the Membres tribe, which were in New Mexico, close to the Mexican border, in this little valley, and they didn't interact with any of the other. The Anasazi were directly to their north. The Hohokam were to the west. They didn't interact with them. They stayed in their little valley, and they made these astonishing pieces. They're just really, this isn't one, but they made these incredible patterns and drawings that were just fabulous. And then they disappeared. They show up about 200. The really exciting pottery happens around 900 AD, and then they're gone by 1100. And and they probably, it was drought and they needed to migrate out of there, and they didn't migrate as a culture. I think they just maybe assimilated to other cultures in the area. I don't know. No one really does. That's the beauty of prehistory. Everybody's guessing. So once we're done with that, so we have Africa, where the information is endless and wonderful and fabulous, where you get into all these cultures. Then we have the Mimbres, where the speculation is endless, but the information is quite minimal. In fact, almost all the information we have comes from the pottery. And then we go to Japan. And you can see here, we're going to make a black raku tea bowl. And you can see behind me, I really like making them. But here's an example of the kind of bowl that you will make. This one, I put a little extra texture on it, but it's basically a black raku tea bowl. And let me just say to you guys that are here, so that we can all understand, you want it to be relatively thin. Last semester, things got a little thick. You want them to be pretty, you know, they don't have to be super thin, but you don't want to exceed about, certainly not 1/4 inch. Don't go thicker than 1/4 inch, but you can even get thinner than that. Close to 1/8 inch will be more comfortable to use and hold. And you can also see, you know, my hands are kind of big, but you can see, look, there it is on my face about how big it is. So it's kind of a nice size bowl. And whether you drink Japanese matcha tea from it, or whether you eat your Cheerios from it, it all works. So you'll learn all about these. And this is, again, so we've gone from endless information to almost no information, back to endless information. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books written in 50 languages about Japanese tea ceremony. And I think you'll really enjoy it. You're going to read one of those books. There's a really great book, and I'll show you that in a minute. How are we doing on time? Does anybody know? I don't have my phone. What time is it?
9:34.
Thank you. Okay, so we're good. Okay, so we've gotten 3 of the 4 assignments, and then big finish. We get to do one of my favorite. Oh, I love all these things, but this is amazing. Look at this. These are called face jugs, and you can see this one's about 6.5 inches tall. They're not that big. And what's exciting, this is fairly close to what the originals looked like. This is kind of what they look like. And you can do this, or you can do your own kind of, I think this one has an earring, so I can put an earring on there. But these are a fantastic ceramic tradition. It's probably, if not the first, close to the first ceramic tradition in America. And it started in 1858. And we know that for sure because probably it goes into the darkest, most tragic part of our history. It comes out of slavery. There was slave ships, and you'll read all about this, and there'll be all kinds of videos about this. But the slave ships were outlawed in America in 1801. 1801, no more slave traders allowed in America. However, you know, all my life until very recently, marijuana has been outlawed. But lots of people smoked it, right? Even when it was illegal. And that's what was happening in the slave trade. There were smugglers coming in. And in 1858, this boat called the Wanderer docked with 400 kidnapped Africans in the boat. And they were forced into slavery from Georgia's where it docked, and Georgia all up into South Carolina. And in South Carolina, there's a town named Edgefield. And in Edgefield, so research shows that there were 6,000 craftspeople, so, you know, weavers and potters and blacksmiths who owned slaves. So one of the potters that owned slaves had a slave who made the first face jug. And so it's an art form that came directly from slavery. And as horrifying as slavery is, it's an amazing moment, because look at, you know, I can't imagine none of us really can truly imagine what it would be like to be torn out of your home against your will, taken across the sea in horrible conditions and thrown into indentured servitude. And the idea that that person then goes, oh, I'm going to create a jug head, a face jug. And in part, it's the spirituality of Africa at the time, from the place that these kidnapped Africans came from, Kenya, the Congo, Western Africa. They had a belief in animism in their religion. They believed that their ancestors would live in the wooden sculptures and the ceramic sculptures that they made. They'd have a sculpture in the house because the spirits of their ancestors lived with them, were present in their lives. So they needed something. And so somebody came up with this as a way to have a place for those ancestors to reside. They also drank water and spirits out of these, and they used them for grave markers because they weren't allowed to have actual written grave markers. So they're a fascinating thing. And the idea that in the worst of times you would come up with something like this is very, it's just a celebration of humanity in a way. So I'm being very opinionated about this, but you'll be able to read and form your own opinions. Here's another one. It's a slightly larger, and I'm going to ask you to make two, one that's more traditional and one that you get to play with. And this, what you can see here is this isn't as traditional a face. This is more something that I do as a sculptor. Still an earring. I think there's no earring there. Maybe over here. Yep, there's one over here. So I haven't put the earrings on yet. But so you'll make one that's slightly larger and one that's more this way. And all of the how-to is very clearly laid out in videos in your class. But so these are really fun, and I have made them, actually I've made one 4 feet tall. I just can't stop making them. They're really quite fun to make. And I love the history of them and the lessons that they teach us. So that's the whole class. In a nutshell, we're going to do all those things. Now, depending on the state of COVID, it really is a day-by-day thing. If we can have you come in face-to-face for a kind of socially distanced experience, I'll invite you to come decorate your own piece, your own African pot for the pit firing that we'll do. We'll do a in-kiln pit firing of the African pots, and I'll invite you to come do it. If not, then I'll end up decorating your pieces, and there's a video on how that's done. And then I will live stream the pit firing. So if you want to come in and check in, it's like it'll be about a 3-hour process, maybe 4, and you can watch it happen. And then all through the semester, when your piece is done, you come and you drop it off with us at the school, and I pick it up. Ruth, since you and I live relatively close, you can drop it off at my house and I can take it in. Anybody who's living, I live in Davis. So if you were in Sacramento or something, you could use me as a stopover point. So you drop it off at school, and then I bisque fire them, and then we go ahead and pit fire them. And then as we go through these different things, the next one, the Membres pot is simple because it is, you're going to do all the creative work on this. And then when you turn it in, I just spray it with a clear glaze and fire it. So I haven't done anything but finish fire it for you. So I bisque it and then I spray it and fire it. So that one, there's no excitement there. This is very exciting if possible. Again, COVID dependent. If COVID allows us, you'll come in and work with me on a black raku firing, which is super exciting. There's on your shell, there's examples. You can see the last firing. But if you're not allowed in yet, then I will do that. And again, live stream the whole process. And finally, these guys, this is a simple simulated ash glaze that was very typical of the Carolinas, of South Carolina pottery. So we'll do a traditional glaze on these. So that's the projects. And then we're reading 2 books. So I'm going to tell you about those. The first one is called, and this is all on your homepage, you'll see this information. And I've got links to lists of them used on Amazon. And you can also search around and see if you can find a better price used elsewhere. You know, there's Abe's books and different kinds of books. So this is a lovely, very simple, as you can see, very, very small book. It's called Zen and the Art of Tea Ceremony, Zen and the Art of Tea Ceremony. And it's a super well articulated introduction to something that millions of pages have been written on, but this gives you a true sense of the spirit of tea. And it's amazing how much goes in. I mean, people have been discussing this form and using this form and thinking about what it should be and what it should look like for over 400 years, almost 500 years. So this gives you a sense of that culture and that history. You'll really get a deep sense of what the Japanese tea ceremony is about, which is fantastic. And then the other book, again, all of this is on your homepage in your class, is called Carolina Clay, The Life and Legend of the Slave Potter Dave. So there were lots of slaves that were making pottery. Dave was probably, he was not only one of the best potters of slave potters, but he was one of the best potters of the era. It's pretty much understood that way. And the reason we know about Dave is because he signed his pots. And you'll learn about these things. Some of you may know all of this already, but it was illegal. Literacy was considered, was not allowed. Slaves were not allowed to learn to read and write. But Dave, for some reason, always had a pass. And so not only did he write his name on his pots, but sometimes he wrote a very short 2 or 3 line couplets, little poetry on his pieces. And you'll learn all about that in this book. It's an intriguing study. In part, we don't know anything. We know very little about Dave and the other enslaved potters. We know very little about them because history wasn't written about them. People pretty much ignored them. So people are scrambling trying to find out. And this is a story of a guy, Leonard Todd is the author. And Leonard Todd graduated from Yale. He's living in New York. And he reads a New York Times article about Dave the Potter. And as he reads a little bit about him, he realizes, wait a minute, my ancestors owned Dave the Potter. So he decides to relocate. He moves to Edgewood, South Carolina, and he starts researching Dave. And that's what this book is about. And it's a little frustrating in 2 ways. One is, I think part of him can't help but try and say, well, my ancestors were nice slave owners. So he keeps trying to, I think, and that's a little frustrating to see that in the book, but you'll have your own take on it. The other thing is that we don't know much about Dave. So he's really good about laying out the pressures and the dynamics and the culture of the times and what was going on, what the legal challenges were. He's good about that. But then there's always a moment where he goes, so at this time, Dave must have felt this, or he must have done that, because we don't know. So it's a good read. You get a sense of what was going on in the dynamics of the period. And so it does immerse us very well in that. But it's just as informative to see what is not known about Dave and the other potters. So that's where we go. We start in Africa with a fabulous and deep ceramic tradition. We go to Native America and the Southwest in the year 900 to 1100. We jump to Japan and for a tea ceremony, which really came to its Renaissance peak in the 1580s. And then we come back to the 1850s in America. So it's really a fabulous tour of 4 great ceramic traditions and lots of information about the world. I'm really excited about the class. So are there any questions? I know I've been talking a lot.
I had a quick question about the pickup of the kit.
Yeah.
So that's at the school. I know this is probably all on the site. So we just go by there and pick it up.
So what I'm thinking, Ruth, is if you want a toolkit for clay, I don't know if you really need that. You might.
Yeah, I have clay and I have flip and stuff.
Do you have round bats? Because I can get you one of those.
No,
How
I
about
don't
a,
have a round bat.
how about a paddle?
I don't have a paddle.
Okay, so I have a short length of 2x4. So what I could do is just bring you a round bat and a paddle. You don't need a working surface. You
Okay.
have that.
Or I could come by and get it. I don't mind.
Okay, it's a 40-minute drive, but you do you. If you want to do that,
Oh,
I'm there from.
I'm in Davis.
Oh yeah, I'll bring it here and you can come by and get it, or I
Okay,
can drop it off.
great.
So, okay, so
Okay,
I'll be
thanks.
back by about 7 tonight and
Okay.
yeah, we'll work that out. Okay.
Okay,
so
thank you.
We'll make a note of that. Somewhere.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions?
So the pickups at the campus in Fairfield, right?
Right. Good question. It's the Fairfield campus and it's from 4:30 to 7. I'm there, so you can come anytime. Good question. Anybody else got a question? Okay. Okay, good. So one thing I really want to emphasize, there's nothing natural about what we're doing. It's all COVID all the time. So this idea of you working at home, definitely get into it. The kit has a 2x2 foot working surface made out of drywall that's been taped off on the edges. It's a great working surface for clay. You'll really learn how to, but you're going to need a space to work. And anybody have kids? I know, Miranda, you have a 3-year-old. Okay, Angela. So I'm going to offer a special deal. Whoop, was that two Angelas? Both have kids? Okay, just for my pleasure, please let me know the names of your children. What are your names? What?
My son is named Wyatt.
Wyatt?
Yes.
Oh, and Angela, I don't know if you can unmute Angela, but maybe you could write it down on a piece of paper and hold it up because I really want to know the name of your child or children. And Angela Hernandez. Oh, there you go. Oh, there's that, right. Oh, I am so crazy because I forget that, oh yeah, there's chat. So we have Jason, Jonah, and Julian. Fantastic, great. And I'm guessing J's somehow are significant. So, and Angela Hernandez?
Wait, you said kids or kids?
I said children.
Oh, no, I don't have any. Never mind.
Okay, well, apparently your namesake, Angela, has some she may loan you on occasion. But let me say to Miranda and Angela, if your kids see what you're doing and they get interested, you could hand them a little clay, they could make something, and when it dries, you bring it in and I'll bisque fire it for them. Okay.
Thank you. I fully intended to do that because he will
All right.
probably be super interested.
Yeah, so we have a special children's environment here.
Do almost 17-year-olds count?
Yes, almost 17.
With the name J. Joseph?
J. Joseph?
My son's Joseph. Yeah,
You're
okay.
Joseph, right. J name, okay.
Yeah.
Joseph, right. Absolutely. That counts too, Ruth. Okay, excellent. Let me emphasize also, since it's not a natural environment, you got a question, something's going on, you send me an email. Some of you have done that already. You see, I get back pretty quickly. I may not get back on a weekend. For the next couple of weeks, when it's, let's see, how will it be? When it's 9 o'clock in the morning for you, it's going to be 5 o'clock in the evening for me, because I'm going to be teaching from Portugal. So I'm very excited. I've been invited to teach a master class in wood firing in Portugal, and it turns out that I can do it with this kind of teaching structure. So there may be a little lag in emails, but I will get back to you, I promise. So please email me. There may be a time, hopefully after I get back, I'm back on September 8th. By the time, there may be a time when I'll just need to set up a Zoom just with you and we can look at what you're doing and that, but I'm here for you. That's 100% of my focus. minus learning how to speak Portuguese right now. Is anybody speak Portuguese or been to Portugal? Know what to do in Portugal? No? I understand I'm going to be in a town named Porto, and I'll be there briefly. And then it's famous for the wine called port. So that doesn't bode well for me. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, the good news is I'll come back with lots of pictures of ceramics that we do there. And so there'll be more information. And who knows, next semester, maybe we'll have a Portuguese ceramics assignment. So that's the point is I'm making is reach out to me. There's, anything that's happening, anything gets difficult, anything comes up, and, it's COVID, right? So anything could happen at any time in terms of what's going on with your life. If you have timing concerns or conflicts, you just write me and let me know what's going on. We'll make it work. Okay. Okay. Any last questions? All right. It has been a real pleasure to spend the morning with you. It's great to meet you all. I'm thrilled to have this opportunity to work with you. Reach out if you need anything. And Ruth, just between you and I, do you know where I live?
I'm thinking you live near Birch Lane Elementary, but I don't know exactly where.
That's true. Do you know where Regis is?
I can find it. I
Yeah,
mean, I
look
know
up
the
Regis.
general neighborhood.
I'm 2540 Regis.
2540 Regis.
Right, and there's lots of there's hanging masks. What a surprise on the fence and that sort of thing. So you'll recognize it, and then I will, when I get home, I will drop the items I have for you. There's a little bench in the front of my house.
Okay,
and they'll be there.
great.
Be sure and knock on the door if I'm home. I'd love to say hi.
Okay,
but,
thanks so much. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay, we tried it. We aimed to please. I don't, just in general, what towns are you in? Randy, what town are you in?
Sorry?
What town do you live in?
Oh, I live in Vacaville.
Vacaville? Well, that's two
Yeah.
for Vacaville. Zuriel?
I live in Fairfield.
Fairfield. What, and I was responding to an email of yours using, the dictation thing. And what did I call you? Like Samosa or something? I don't know. It's some weird name. Yeah, it was pretty weird. Angela, what town are you in? Angela Hernandez?
Vacaville.
Vacaville. Okay, that's Vacaville is winning 3-1. 3-2-1 so far. Let's see, Angela, you can chat it, pop it in the chat. What town are you living in? Antioch. How exciting. So now where is Antioch? Anybody who's got a speaker, where does Antioch? Is that? I guess I could look it up. Past Concord. Oh, right. Okay. Right. So drop off wise, it's still within range, which is good. You're about 20 to 30 next to Pittsburgh. Right. Thanks, Angela. So, dropping off, you probably will end up with about a 30-minute drive, maybe. How many of your kids drive? 0. All right. I thought I saw an opening there. Okay. And Kira, where are you from?
I live in Vacaville.
Vacaville. So 4 for Vacaville. Vacaville is the winner. We have then 2 in Davis. Davis comes in second. 1 for Fairfield, 1 for Antioch. It's nice to see Antioch and Fairfield kind of vying for position there for the bronze. All right. Well, I will see you all. Now, we do have, starting on September 15th, we'll have this kind of thing. It's optional. We have a Zoom office hour every Wednesday at 9 in the morning. And if you can make it, great. It's optional. If you can't make it, that's fine too. Or if you don't need to come by, but if you have any questions, you just want to, see a face or talk ideas, you're welcome to show up and we'll chat. We have an hour to talk. And then again, if at any point there's something you need and maybe we need to set up a Zoom or we can do FaceTime or whatever other things there are. So such a pleasure. I will see you all in the virtual
you.
world of teaching. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.